What's up YouTube, NC YUGIOH, bringing you, as you can see, a Qli deck profile. Now Qli's came out around Dauntless Alliance and new challenges, or I believe it was new challenges that they started, and they've got both a boost from the most recent set Extreme Forces, and of course the ban list, because the ban list, as you can see here, gave them back their towers, which is basically their big boss monster. Now this was an issue before Kaijus were around. Now that Kaijus are around, it's still a big pain in the ass and an incredibly powerful boss monster, but now there is natural outs to it. And then of course you've got heavy meta foes Electromite, which again is an introduction from Extreme Forces, along with their own link monster Qliphort Genesis. So very good cards, very powerful, and I'm going to take you through the deck, show you what we've got, and explain why Qli's are now back, or can now still compete, and hopefully we'll start seeing them getting a bit more play. Anyway, so you start off with the one Qliphort Tower, incredibly powerful card. For those of you that are coming back to the game that don't know much about Qli's, it cannot be special summoned, but it requires 3 Qli tributes to normal summon or set. If this card is normal summoned or set, it is unaffected by spell or trap effects, and by activated effects from any monster whose original level or rank is lower than this card's current level. So he's very powerful. As you can see, he's got higher amounts of level, but it doesn't stop stuff like Borrow Load and stuff like that. All special monsters, special summon monsters on the field lose 500 attack and defense, and once per turn you can make your opponent send one monster from their hand or their side of the field to the graveyard, their choice. So ideally you want to use his effect. You want to use his effect when your opponent has no other options, but like I said, because we've got more natural outs and stuff like Borrow Load, because it's not really a rank or a level, link monsters can get around towers, which is why it's probably been brought back, because it's not as dominant as it probably could have been, but it'll still be a very powerful card should your opponent not have the ability to make one of the outs or have an out to it. Next up, we've got triple Qliphort Helix. This is a very cool card as well, because it can be normal summoned or set without a tribute, but its attributes go down to level 4, and it's 1800 attack. If it's normal summoned or set properly, it is unaffected by card effects of any monster whose original level or rank is lower than itself, or its current level. If it is tributed, you can target one spell or trap card on the field and destroy it. And that counters off with Carrier. Now I'm only playing 2 Carrier in this build because I have knocked it down 1. You can put it up at 3, no arguments about that. The only reason that I've kind of taken this one down is exact same as Helix. It can be normal summoned or set, it becomes 1800. If it's tributed, you target one monster on the field and return it to the hand. Obviously the target is a bit of an issue, but it still has the ability to start bouncing stuff and deal with that. You can bump it up to 3, no arguments about that. It's entirely up to you. Then we've got 3 Stealth. 3 Stealth again is a very core card, very powerful as well. It can be normal summoned and set without tributed, but 9 times out of 10 you want to be tribute summoning Stealth, because Stealth can be very powerful. So if it's normal summoned or set, it's unaffected by activated effects from any monster whose original level or rank is lower than its current level. When this card is tribute summoned by tributing a Qli monster or monsters, you can target one card on the field, return it to the hand. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. So they can't strike a normal summon, and then you're going to be bringing Stealth on board. And then not to mention, if you've tributed off Helix or Carrier, you're then going to get multiple effects going off with that. We then play double disc. Now you can play triple disc if you want. Again, this is mainly because I've put in a hand trap engine, and when I get to the hand trap engine, I'll explain why I've put the hand trap engine in, and I'll show you what you could probably take out or put in if you wanted to change it up. So again, can be normal summon without tributing. It lowers its ranks and levels and stuff like that. When this card is tribute summoned by tributing a Qli monster or monsters, you special summon 2 Qli monsters from your deck, but destroy them during the end phase. So basically, you're going to be special summoning 2 more Qli monsters to go for beatdown, or you then use them to link up, to overlay, to kind of do whatever you need to, but they do become their main levels, I believe, when they come from the deck. So that's kind of imperative to be kept in mind. Then we've got double Monolith. Now Monolith is your way into Cyber Dragon Infinity, but on top of that is obviously your counter 1 scale, so you get to draw cards. When you put it in the scale, you can special summon monsters except Qli. You cannot special summon monsters except Qli monsters. The effect cannot be negated. During the end phase, if you tribute summoned this turn, you can draw a number of cards equal to the number of Qli monsters you tributed for tribute summons this turn. So it kind of lets you get plus backs in that game. You've then got the 1 Scout because it is only at 1, and Scout is incredibly powerful. This is your searcher, so you pay 800 life points, and then you get to add 1 Qli card from your deck to your hand except itself. And these two are obviously your counter scales. It's kind of what you want in your scales to go. So you can search out Monolith if you want to go for your Pendulum Summon plays. Obviously you can search out Helix to get your normal summon on board, or you can search out Sacrifice, which is now at 3 as well, to kind of help extend your plays. And we finish off the monster lineup for Qlis with 1 Shell. Shell is kind of your boss monster, or your beat monster basically. So if this card is normal summoned by tributing a Qli monster or monsters, it can make a second attack during each battle phase, and if it attacks a defense position monster, you inflict piercing battle damage. So at 2800, without any other beefs or anything like that, it's still going to be doing huge amounts of damage and can actually push you in for game. So that's it for the Qli lineup. Now onto our hand trap lineup. So this is just for the abilities that you don't get to go first. You kind of need ways of outing your opponent, and you can play evenly matched if you want to, but obviously hand traps are more generic because it doesn't stuff you up later in the game. So you've got 2 Ashes, 2 Ogres, and 2 Effect Veilers. Now, I'll explain why now. So, Ashes again are incredibly powerful, but in this upcoming meta, we expect Metaphor's Electromite to kind of be the dominant extra deck monster around. Now, Ash only stops 1 of its effects. It doesn't stop the rest of the effects. So you're actually better off in the scenario to use an Effect Veiler or a Ghost Ogre on your opponent's heavy Metaphor's Electromite. That being said as well, Ghost Ogre and Effect Veiler, a more Ghost Ogre can deal with your opponent's Spiral Resort. And as soon as you've hit that resort, that's it, it's done and dusted. They haven't got another one to go with unless they start to adapt a little bit more in the game. And we'll see that as the meta starts to develop. Effect Veiler can then also provide more options in order to kind of slow down a bit of play in your opponent's extra deck monsters, or maybe your opponent's main deck monsters, and can actually catch your opponent off guard. In the sense that, yes, Ash is very, very good and powerful, but a 2/2/2 gives you a range of abilities to kind of have to hit as much monsters in the decks or your opponent's decks as possible. So that's why I've gone with a 2/2/2 ratio. You can do 3 Ash if you want to, or if you're on a budget, again, Effect Veiler is obviously a nice little touch in as well. Now for the spells, we've got Triple Sacrifice. This came back on the ban list. You equipped it to a Qli monster, it gains 300 attack and cannot be destroyed by battle. The equipped monster can be treated for 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a Qli monster. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you add 1 Qli monster from your deck to your hand. So it's a very, very powerful searcher, and obviously the idea is you'd go into, like, let's say you go turn 1, you've got your Helix or you've got your Carrier, you've got it equipped with a Sacrifice. Turn 2, if you've got Scouting play or anything like that, you've then got another Qli monster in battle, like your Stealth or your Disc. You then tribute off the Qli monster going into your Disc or whatnot. You then use Sacrifice to either search out your Scout or search out your other scale. You then activate your other scales. You Pendulum Summon back what you've tributed off. Their effects will obviously go off to bounce stuff and special summon stuff and go from there. So you've got an extra search off a Sacrifice, and it can also bait out an Ash should you need it, because your opponent's either going to have to Ash this, or if you've got a Scout in play, they'll have to Ash that. So again, we've also got Triple Summoner's Art. Because you want to see Scout in your opening hand, you have to see Scout. If you don't see Scout, you're in a bit of trouble. So you want to see it as early as you possibly can, which is why we maximise Summoner's Art. But on top of that, obviously it's not dead, because you can then search out Monolith should you need it. And it can help contribute to deck thinning abilities. Next up, we've got 2 Wavering Eyes. Now, if the meta is going to shift to a more pendulum-heavy kind of basis, then of course Wavering Eyes can be a very, very powerful card to use. On top of that, it can also help out yourself in the ability to kind of clear out your scales to move them along to get searches or to get them to the extra deck or whatnot, and then kind of use their abilities to go off. Or just fill up your extra deck to move plays forward. Or if your opponent's going to destroy your Scout or anything like that, you can plus off of that by chaining a Wavering Eyes and getting what you need out of it. Next up, we play double Pot of Desires. You can play Pot of Duality if you want to in this deck. The reason I play Desires is because Duality stops you special summoning, so depending on how far into the game or how far into the match you are, it might actually be less of a neg or more of a neg getting Duality than getting Desires. You can play Card of Demise, but because we're playing the hand trap engine, I'm not focusing as much on the heavy back row, Desires is probably the more ideal choice. We've obviously got 2 Twin Twisters. Now this is obviously to get rid of your strikes, get rid of your opponent's back row, anything you might cause you damage like Cosmic Cyclones. But on top of that, because we have this bad boy, Monster Reborn, back, Twin Twisters can be very, very powerful to kind of ditch one of your clean monsters to the graveyard with Twin Twister and then Monster Reborn it back. But ideally, your Monster Reborn is better to bring back Link monsters should you link up, which is why when we get to the extra deck, we play Link 3s and 4s. Now on to the traps. Now the traps can then come down to personal preference. You can change these as and when you please. So I played Double Drown in Mirror Force for those times that you haven't got a monster on board, but also because we played Double Soul Transition, we can then tribute off one of our monsters +2, maybe get into hand traps or anything like that, and then our opponent thinks we're done, and you've got your Drowning to go in there. If you want to take out your Drownings, you can put in like your strikes and your warnings. You can obviously bump up your Wavering Eyes, you can put more of a draw engine in with Pot of Dualities, you can put your Carrier in, you can put your Disc in. There's quite a lot that you can play around with. And then of course we've got 2 Lose One turns. Now the reason Lose One turns so good is because when you Pendulum Summon out your clean monsters, they then shift to defense, but their effects will be negated, so they then go back up to their original attributes of 2400 and stuff like that. And it's very, very cool to kind of use that to move your plays forward, which is why we also play the 1 Skill Drain, because Skill Drain will do that job for you. And then you can just normal summon your monsters, drop them down to level 4s, but then when Skill Drain's on the board, they then boost themselves back up. So that can be a real pain for your opponent to kind of deal with. They won't obviously gain their Tribute Summon kind of like effects, but they'll still be huge beaters that you can just normal summon and move the game. And then of course the 1 Solemn Judgment, because it is the out for everything and it is active all the time. Whether you've got 2 life points left or 8,000 life points left, it will always be live. Now, like I said, if you wanted to put in your discs and stuff like that and take out the hand trap engine or take any of the engines out, you then go into your strikes, your warnings, your dualities, Wavering Eyes, discs and so forth. Now onto the extra deck. Double Heavy Metaphors Electromite. This is where the money starts coming in. Incredibly powerful card. Very, very, very good. Obviously popping your scales, getting you a draw, getting you a search, filling up your extra deck, doing the whole 9 yards. Now you can play Astrograph Sorcerer in this deck to kind of make it a little bit more busted, but I'm trying to go for a more clear orientated push. Again, if you want to take the hand traps out, you can of course go into your Astrographs, and then Astrographs lets you kind of recycle your cards that you tribute off. Next up, we've got Double Genesis. This is obviously very, very good in the Link monsters because it's a nice little Link too. Link Summon card is unaffected by spell and trap cards and activated effects of other Link monsters, so it's a nice little protector of itself. And then once per turn, you target 1 face-up card on each player's field. Except this card, both of those cards have their effects negated until the end of this turn. So again, you get to turn off your own Qliphort, like Carriers and Helix's effects, turn them into 2400 beaters, and then kind of get over some of your opponent's bigger boss monsters as well if you need to. When 2 monsters are special summoned at the same time to zones this card points to, you can add 1 level 5 or higher machine monster from your deck to your hand. So again, it helps you search out most of your clean monsters. We've then got the 1 Mrs. Radiant because they're all Earth monsters with your Clees, so giving them another boost on top of their 2400s or anything like that can be very, very powerful. Your 1 Akashic Magician, you don't have to play this, I just like it as a nice little out. If someone makes like Deco Talker, you can make Akashic Magician, bounce it, get rid of it before Deco can then cause you any issues. You got your 1 Cyber Dragon Nova and your Cyber Dragon Infinity because you can make this with Scout should it get destroyed into the extra deck, and of course your Monolith. And then we've got some rank 4 plays. You've got your Utopia with Lightning, you got your Tornado Dragon, you got your Abyss Dweller, and you got your Babushka. Now, Babushka is obviously incredibly powerful and very, very useful in any kind of deck, really, and can kind of slow your opponent down and stall them out till you get to the cards that you need to. And then finally up, we've got the 1 Deco Talker and the 1 Borolo Dragon for those link-up abilities, like I said, abusing the Monster Reborn effect. Plus, Borolo Dragon is incredibly powerful and useful, and Deco Talker can also be very, very useful. Now, less so in the sense that because your deck relies on tribute summons and stuff like that, you don't flood the board massively with Clees until like you've been able to establish your board or establish your kind of presence in the game. So you don't need to worry heavily about going into these monsters, but they are just very, very nice outs to have in the extra deck. Rather have them and not need them than need them and not have them. So that is it for the Clee deck. Quite straightforward on that. It's very, very nice to have these back in a sense. They were kind of a pain to deal with, but I think now's a good time for having them back because the game kind of allows them to be powerful and useful as like a nice little rogue deck, but not be too busted or broken. So it gives you a nice little balance to work with and play around with. Anyway, that's it for the deck profile. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and until Tuesday next week, guys, see ya.